The project is about election administration and performance management. Election administration is kind of at the backbone of democracy and democratic processes, but it often tends to be either ignored or kind of taken for granted in most democracies. It's basically the way in which elections are kind of administered on the ground, the nuts and bolts of procedures that take place. And in lots of countries in recent years, there's been claims or suggestions that they have been misadministered. So, for example, perhaps most famously in the US presidential election back in 2000, in Florida, there was a large number of votes that were shown to be not counted because it was unclear what voters' clear intent was.
CNN announces that we call Florida in the Al Gore column.
All of us at the networks made a mistake and projected Florida in the Al Gore column. It was our mistake.
Or there were problems with the voting machines, or ballots were incorrectly designed so that they confused voters. The butterfly ballot was the kind of was a famous phrase. Similarly, there were problems in 2004 in Ohio, and most recently, UK has seen lots of attention on this as well. So, for example, at the 2010 general election, there were scenes being broadcast on BBC News as the election results were coming in live outside polling stations in Sheffield, where students were unable and were locked out of polling stations and were not able to cast their votes. Investigations shown that was partly to do with voting centres being under-resourced. In other areas of the country, not enough ballot papers were printed. So this is a very important area because it can cause people to be disenfranchised, people's votes not to be counted. It can affect electoral turnout. It can also, as the US election showed, it can affect who actually wins the election. If it hadn't been for electoral administration, George W. Bush may never have been the US president. And in 2006, the UK initiated a very novel scheme, which was to impose some kind of performance standards actually on to election staff around the UK. So my research is in a sense evaluating this scheme, looking at whether election administration has improved as a result of having these standards in place, or whether, contrary to that, there may be some kind of negative side effects about having performance standards, which sometimes people have pointed to in other areas of public sector management. Likewise, many democracies, newly emerging democracies around the world, are very concerned about electoral integrity, confidence in the democratic process. So hopefully this type of scheme is designed to increase integrity and increase democratic confidence. So it may have a wide kind of international significance, as well as obviously being important to elections in the UK. So we offer an MA in public policy, and we have one of the core modules for that looks at the policy process. As part of that module, we look at managing performance in public sector organisations. Of course, in an age of kind of financial austerity, governments are increasingly trying to claim that we should do more for less across public sectors. So there are lots of debates about what the most effective tools are for doing that. One of these tools that's been very popular for governments, especially since the 1990s onwards, has been the use of performance standard mechanisms as part of something called new public management. Yes, this is something that this research is also integrated into our kind of research-based teaching at Swansea.